In 2007, a research team captured light from a planet 63 light-years away and found something never seen outside our solar system: water vapor. The lead author on that study was an astrophysicist named Carl Johann Grillmair. He spent nearly 3 decades as part of the bedrock at Caltech's Infrared Processing and Analysis Center. Over his career, Grillmair supported the instruments aboard the Hubble Space Telescope and mapped dark matter by discovering faint stellar streams, the cosmic debris left over from ancient galactic collisions. Colleagues often described his ability to infer billion-year-old galactic events as pure detective work, which makes the end of his life quietly devastating. The man who used logic to solve the oldest mysteries in the universe became the subject of a baffling homicide investigation. Away from the massive institutional telescopes, Grillmair chose to live in the Mojave Desert's Antelope Valley. He built a personal observatory on his rural property in Llano so he could keep looking at the sky even after he went home. Just after 6 in the morning on February 16, 2026, the 67-year-old walked out onto his front porch. He was shot once in the torso. Paramedics pronounced him dead at the scene. Within 5 hours, deputies arrested a 29-year-old man who lived just 2 miles down the road. To go from mapping the farthest reaches of the Milky Way to bleeding out on a porch from a neighborhood dispute is a jarring collision of scales. That severe contrast is exactly what allowed 2 completely different explanations for his death to take root. The arrested man was Freddie Snyder. In the months before the shooting, Snyder had repeatedly trespassed on Grillmair's property. He claimed he was hunting coyotes while causing disturbances at nearby homes, prompting the Grillmair household to report him to the police. On December 20, 2025, Snyder was arrested in Palmdale on suspicion of carrying a loaded firearm in his vehicle, but the gun charge was dismissed and he was released on his own recognizance 3 days later. The harassment escalated. By early February, 2 weeks before the fatal shooting, Snyder reportedly returned to the Grillmair property carrying a baseball bat. When Snyder was finally apprehended on the day of the murder, the police weren't even responding to the shooting. They arrested him for carjacking his own relative in an entirely separate incident. Carl's widow, Louise Grillmair, has spoken publicly about this timeline. She points to the trespassing, the police calls, and the escalating behavior as clear evidence of a misguided local revenge plot by an unstable neighbor. She thoroughly rejects the idea that her husband was targeted for his scientific work, but the FBI is treating the case differently. They have placed Grillmair's name on a centralized list of scientists whose recent deaths and disappearances are under active federal review. The connection lies in his professional network. Over his 30 years at Caltech, Grillmair frequently collaborated on missions with the same Jet Propulsion Laboratory teams that employed Monica Reza and Frank Mywalt, 2 researchers who recently vanished or died under unconfirmed circumstances. Furthermore, Grillmair's work on the NEOWISE mission involved advanced asteroid detection and tracking. That specific methodology overlaps directly with highly classified orbital defense and UAP monitoring projects. Federal investigators are looking at the macro picture. In a window of time where multiple scientists linked to defense and advanced space research are turning up dead or missing, Grillmair's professional orbit is simply too deeply entangled in that same community to be dismissed without a thorough probe. When you place Grillmair's file next to the 9 other cases in this broader investigation, the differences are stark. Unlike the total disappearances of McCasland or Reza, this file contains an arrested suspect, a murder charge, and a documented escalation timeline. This forces us to ask a difficult question. Does a concrete arrest make this the one case on the FBI's list that is genuinely unrelated to the others? Or does it highlight a much more uncomfortable vulnerability? That a person can spend